Once upon a time in Nluka village, a quiet place in the green heart of Igbo land, the moon hid behind thick clouds. The evening breeze carried the smell of wet earth and the cry of distant nightbirds. Old people whispered that such a night belonged to spirits. In a small mud hut at the edge of the village, Na struggled to give birth. Her cries rose and fell like the beat of a drum. The midwife, Mama Chioma, bent over her, wiping sweat from her own brow as she prayed for strength. "Push, Naker, push," she whispered. "Chukagoy, God help us." Outside, Oina, her husband, walked back and forth across the sandy compound. His heart thumped like the village drum on market day. He had prayed for this child for many seasons. Tonight his prayer was being answered, but fear pressed on him like a heavy load. At last, a thin, sharp cry broke the night. A baby's cry. Ina's heart leapt with joy. But before he could rush inside, a strange silence followed, broken only by Mama Chioma's long, sorrowful wail. He ran in. The smell of blood and sweat filled the air. Neka lay still on the mat, her eyes open, but empty. In Mama's arms was a tiny baby boy, alive but shivering. "Your wife," the midwife said softly, tears running down her cheeks. "Na is gone. May her spirit rest with the ancestors." Oina dropped to his knees. "Na, open your eyes." He shook her gently, but her lips stayed silent. The baby's thin cry was the only sound. Then Ina saw it, a small moon-shaped mark glowing faintly on the baby's chest. The light was soft but steady, as though the moon had kissed his skin. Mama Chioma gasped. "An evil sign," she whispered. Ina's mind filled with the old tales. Children marked by spirits. Babies who brought death to their mothers. His grandmother's warning echoed in his head. A child with the moon on his chest belongs to the forest. If you keep him, the spirits will take more. Grief hardened into fear. "He gonna live her," Ina whispered. "He gonna live my Na." Mama Chioma shook her head. "Ina, no, he's only a baby. This is not his fault." But Oina could not hear. The sight of Nika's still face and the glowing mark crushed his heart. Pain twisted into a dark resolve. When the village slept and the night grew deeper, Ina wrapped the baby in a faded cloth. He stepped outside, careful not to wake the midwife. The moon hid behind clouds. The path ahead lay in darkness. He walked toward the Ahofia forest, the place the elders called evil. People said spirits danced there at midnight, and that anyone who entered without a sacrifice never returned the same. Tonight, Ina's grief burned stronger than fear. The forest greeted him with the hiss of hidden snakes and the mournful hoot of an owl. He followed a narrow path until he reached a small clearing where a sudden gap in the clouds let the moonlight fall. He laid the baby on dry leaves. The infant whimpered, tiny fists reaching for warmth. The birthmark shone like a silver crescent. Ina's voice cracked. "You took her from me. They say a child like you belongs to this forest. Then stay here. Go back to the spirits that sent you." The baby cried louder, a thin, desperate sound that pierced the night. For a moment, Ina's heart trembled. He saw Nika's round cheeks in the child's tiny face. But the old stories of curses and death tightened his resolve. Without another word, he turned away. Leaves crunched under his feet. Behind him, the baby's cry mixed with the owl's call until they became one eerie sound. Ina hurried back to his compound before the first cockcrow. His heart beat fast, not only from the long walk, but from the fear of what he had done. The moon had gone behind the clouds again. Only the cry of nightbirds followed him. When he pushed open the wooden door, Mama Chioma, the midwife, sat on a stool, waiting, her tired eyes lifted at once. "Where's the baby?" she asked in a low voice. Ina looked away. "Do not ask me again," he said roughly. "Listen well, Mama Chioma. No one in this village must hear that a child was born here tonight, not even your own children. If people hear, they will say an evil child came from my house. They will stop visiting me. They will not buy from me in the market. I will be cut off." Mama studied his face. "You mean you have hidden the child?" Obina's jaw tightened. "Do not ask me where. Just keep quiet." The midwife folded her arms slowly. Her eyes were sharp despite the long night. "I can keep your secret," she said, "but only if you give me what I want." Ina frowned. What do you mean? Her voice dropped to a whisper. From today, you will be my man. You will obey me in all things. When I call, you will come. You will do whatever I say. Ina's eyes widened. Are you mad? My wife has just died. Mama leaned forward. If I tell the village what happened, they will not only turn against you, they will drag you to the elder square. They will ask where the child is. What answer will you give? Think Ina, your farm, your name, even your father's compound. You will lose. Everything. Heat rose in Ina's chest. You are wicked, he said. You dare to threaten me with my own pain. I am giving you a choice, she replied coldly. Either you obey, or by sunrise everyone will know that a baby with a moon mark was born here and that the father threw him away. Ina grief turned to anger, but he also knew the woman was right. One word from her, and the village would close its doors to him. He felt trapped like a goat in a hunter's net. I will not be your slave, he said through his teeth. Mama gave a small smile. We shall see. While Ina fought his private battle, far inside the Aophia forest, the abandoned baby lay on a bed of dry leaves. The night air had grown colder. His cries had grown weak. From the shadows, an old woman stepped into the clearing. Her name was Mama Aoife. Long ago, the elders had banished her from Amuka. They said her knowledge of herbs and strange dreams made her dangerous. For many years, she had lived alone in a small hut deep in the forest. She had gone out that night to gather rare leaves when she heard the faint cry. Following the sound, she found the baby. My great ancestors, she whispered. Who would leave a child in the cold? She bent down and lifted the baby gently. The little face was pale and damp, but when she touched him, the birthmark on his chest gave a soft silver glow. Mama, it did not draw back. Instead, she nodded slowly as if she understood something no one else could see. You are not evil, my child, she said. You are only alone. The old woman looked around the silent trees. Let the village fear what it does not know, she murmured. I will keep you safe. She turned and walked along a narrow path known only to her. The forest seemed to open for her steps, the night creatures silent as she passed. Soon the glow of her small hut appeared through the trees. Mama Aoife laid the child on a mat near the fire. From tonight, she whispered, your name shall be Chady, for God exists, and he has not left you. 2 days passed. In Ina's compound, the small gate creaked as 3 elderly men entered without calling. They were neighbors and kinsmen. Parnana, Okoro, and Ikachuku. Their faces were solemn. Parna cleared his throat. Obina, he said, we came to greet you. We heard of Neka's death. May her soul rest. Ina lowered his head. Thank you, my fathers. Okoro shifted. He said, we know Neka died while giving birth. But what of the child? Where is he or she? The words cut through the morning air like a sharp blade. Ina felt his stomach tighten. He forced his eyes to the ground. The child, he swallowed. The child did not live. Both mother and child, they are gone. Brown nodded. Both. He shook his head slowly. This is heavy news indeed. But why did you not call us? Why bury them without the knowledge of the king and the elders? Parnana leaned on his staff. His voice was stern. You know our law. No man buries a wife and a child alone. It is an abomination. The land must be cleansed. You should have sent word to the elders before the crowed that night. Ina's heart pounded. I was confused, he said quickly. Grief blinded me. I buried them before dawn because I could not bear to see the sun rise on their bodies. Forgive me. The men exchanged troubled glances. Okoro spoke again. Your pain we understand, but the law we cannot ignore. To bury without the king's knowledge is to bring defilement on the land. You will be fined for it. Ikachuku tapped his stick on the earth. Before the next market day, you must bring a goat and a pot of palm wine to the elder square. The king himself will decide if more sacrifice is needed. Ina bowed his head. I will do as you say. The men sighed. Parana placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. We grieve with you, my son. But grief is no excuse to break the customs of our fathers. Make peace with the land, and may the spirits of Na and the child rest. They turned and left. Obina sank onto the wooden bench beside the doorway. Sweat ran down his back through the morning air was cold. His lie had been spoken. The words tasted bitter on his tongue. He pressed his palms to his face. I only wanted silence, he thought. But silence is heavier than truth. Somewhere deep in the Aophia forest, the child they believed dead slept peacefully in Mama Ephima's hut. Mama Ephioma sat cross-legged beside the sleeping baby. 2 days had passed since she found him. "My little Chidi," she whispered, "what lies ahead for you is heavy. The spirits have already written something big in your life. I must keep you safe." She rose slowly. From a woven basket, she brought out a small clay pot filled with water she had fetched from a hidden spring before sunrise. She sat on the floor and added a pinch of ground charcoal and leaves of ogirasai, the sacred tree. The water turned a deep gray. Next, she took a small gourd of red oil and drew a thin line across Chid's forehead. "This is the sign of life," she murmured. "No evil hand will touch you." The baby stirred but did not cry. Mama If lifted the clay pot and sprinkled the gray water lightly over his chest, the drops shining like dew on the moon mark. "The spirits hear me. Let this child be hidden from harm. Let every dark eye that seeks him see only mist. Let every curse turn to blessing. Chuku, the true God, guard him." Back in Amuaka village, whispers began to run like dry leaves before the wind. For 2 days, the people had waited for Abiner to bring his goat and pot of palm wine to the elders square, as custom demanded. He did not come. Instead, another story reached their ears, one far darker. It was Mama Chioma, the midwife, who broke the silence. Her voice carried across the evening gathering at the village square. "People of Amuaka," she said loudly, "you ask where the child is. You ask why Obina buried his wife in secret. I will tell you why. A child was born with the mark of the moon. Ina called him evil and threw him into the Aophia forest to die." The crowd gasped. "Is this true?" Parnana asked, his old eyes wide. Mama Chioma lifted her chin. "It is true. I kept his secret because he begged me, but he promised to honor me. He broke his promise. Let the truth be known." The square buzzed with angry voices. "Abomination," shouted one elder. "He must answer before the king." The youths, strong young men who guarded the laws, grabbed their staffs. "He will be banished to the evil forest," their leader declared. "Such a man cannot live among us." News ran ahead of them like a wildfire. Before the sun touched the horizon, the whole village knew. In his lonely compound, Ina sat on a low stool, head in his hands. The noise of the approaching youths reached him. Footsteps, shouts, the clash of staffs. He knew what it meant. The people were coming to drive him into the same forest where he had left his son. A cold fear seized his heart. "I cannot face them," he thought. "I cannot face the forest." On the clay shelf in his hut stood a small calabash of bitter herbs, poisonous if drunk in full. He had once used a few drops to kill pests in the yam barn. His hands shook as he reached for it. "Forgive me, Naker," he whispered. "Forgive me, my son." Before the gate burst open, Ina lifted the calabash to his lips and drank deeply. When the youths entered, their torches throwing wild shadows, they found him lying still on the floor, the empty calabash by his side. Parnana bent and touched his neck. "It is finished," he said quietly. The angry voices softened. Even those who came to banish him lowered their heads. Ina's own fear had ended his life. 25 years later, time moved like the slow river. Amaka. Children grew into adults, and many forgot the story of the man who had once defied the laws. Then, one dry season, a heavy sickness came upon the village king. His skin grew pale, and his breath became short. No medicine from the herbalist helped him. The elders gathered in the king's courtyard, their faces lined with worry. The chief priest of the land, Dia Anasir, arrived carrying his staff of white chalk. He raised his voice so all could hear. "The spirits have spoken," he said. "The king will not rise until a task is done. Only one thing can heal him." "What is it, Dia?" the elders asked. "A child who was thrown into a Jophia forest many years ago is still alive," the priest replied. "He has grown there alone. His hands carry the blessing that can save our king." Murmurs of disbelief swept the gathering. "But that child should be long dead." One elder said, "It is 25 years. No human can live there alone." Dibia Anosi struck the ground with his staff. White chalk dust rose like smoke. Do not argue with the spirits. He lives, but only a pure heart can reach him. The forest will open its path only to a virgin girl. She must bring him back. The elders looked at one another, troubled and amazed. The forest boy, whispered Parnana, now white-haired and bent with age. Could it be true that the child survived? The priest's voice was firm. He is the only one who can heal the king. Choose the maiden quickly, for the king's breath grows weaker with every sun that sets. The square fell silent. Old memories stirred like dust in a Hamilton wind. Somewhere beyond the village, in the depth of a joyous forest, the child who had once been left to die was waiting, grown, hidden, and carrying the cure for a dying king. The dawn sun had barely touched the palace walls when the chief priest, Anasir, returned to the royal courtyard. His white robe swayed as he walked, and the choked staff in his hand caught the first light of morning. He had spent the night in prayer, and the answer of the spirits weighed heavily on his heart. He stepped into the king's private chamber. The queen sat beside her husband. The king lay weak on his carved bed, his breath slow and shallow. "My king, my queen," the chief priest said, "the spirits have spoken again. The one who must go into the Aophia forest to bring back the child is the princess herself. She is pure. She has never known a man. The forest will open only for her." The queen's eyes blazed like fire. "Never," she cried. "My daughter will not set foot in that cursed place. Let the king die if he must. My child will not risk her life." The chief priest stared at her, shocked by the force of her words. "My queen, do you know what you are saying? The life of the king and the peace of the land depend on this journey." "I know exactly what I am saying," the queen answered coldly. "No forest will swallow my only child. If the gods wish to take the king, let them take him. When he is gone, my daughter will sit on the throne and rule." The room fell silent. Only the sound of the king's breathing broke the stillness. Dionysi turned to the king, hoping for support. The old man opened his eyes, weak but determined. "You have heard the words of the spirits," the priest said gently. "Will you allow your daughter to go?" The king shook his head slowly, his voice but firm. "Never. My daughter will not enter the evil forest again." He shook his head heavy with both weakness and resolve. "She will not go." The priest lowered his staff, disbelief and worry written on his face. "You would risk the life of the land for this?" he asked. But the king closed his eyes and said, "No more." With a troubled heart, Dionysi left the palace and went to the elders' square. Beneath the wide Udala tree, the oldest men sat in a ring. The priest told them everything. The sickness of the king, the command of the spirits, the queen's fiery refusal, and the king's own stubbornness. The elders murmured among themselves. Some shook their heads. At last, old Purana cleared his throat. "If the king will not send his own daughter," he said, "then another maiden must go. The spirits ask only for a virgin girl. It need not be a child of royal blood. My own daughter is pure. I will speak to her." Relief passed through the gathering. One elder said, "May the gods bless you, Parnana. You have saved the land." Others nodded in agreement and thanked him for his courage. That evening, Parnana returned to his compound. His daughter Ngois sat by the fire. She looked up and smiled, but the smile faded when she saw the heavy look in her father's eyes. "Papa, what is wrong?" she asked. He sat beside her and gently took her hands in his rough palms. "My daughter," he began softly, "the king is very ill. The chief priest says that only the child who was left in the Aophia forest long ago can heal him. The spirits will allow only a virgin girl to bring that child back. The king refuses to send his own daughter, and I have offered you." Goy gasped, "No, Papa, never. That forest is full of spirits. People who enter do not return." Purana held her hands tighter. "Goy, listen to me. The gods are with you. I know you are pure, and they will lead you safely. Do this for our land, my love, and prove the enemies wrong." Her eyes widened. "Enemies? What enemies? You know how the village women whisper that you are not clean. They say you have known many men. They spread their poison like ants in sugar. And I know their words are lies. But this is the time to silence them. Show them the truth. Let the gods prove them wrong." Mgozi lowered her gaze to the red earth, her heart beating fast. The rumors had stung her for many moons, and many times she had wept alone at night. Her father stroked her hair gently. "My daughter, the gods will walk with you. This journey is your chance to show them all who you are." Tears gathered in her eyes. "Papa, I am afraid, but if the gods call me, I will go." Panna's face softened with pride. "Chukago, God bless you, my child. The spirits will protect you." 2 days after the elders' meeting, Ngoy set out from her father's compound. Parnana walked with her as far as the stream that marked the last border of the village. There he stopped and placed a small bundle in her hands, a strip of cloth filled with sacred leaves, and a calabash of spring water blessed by the priest. "My daughter," he said, "the gods will walk before you. Do not fear the shadows. Remember that truth is stronger than any whisper of evil." Ngoy nodded. She hugged her father quickly, then turned toward the dark wall of the Apophia forest. The path narrowed as she entered the trees. Above her, the branches were together like a giant roof. Sunlight slipped through in broken spears, painting the ground with patches of golden shadow. The air smelled of wet leaves and hidden streams. From time to time, a bird called sharp and lonely, then fell silent again. Hours passed, the forest deepened. When she paused to rest, she remembered the words of the chief priest. "Do not turn if voices call your name. Do not look behind you until you stand at the village gate." At last she reached a small clearing where the ground was carpeted with soft moss. There, standing in the silver glow of the moon, was a tall young man. His skin shone like polished bronze. On his chest, a crescent-shaped mark glowed softly as if the moon itself had touched him. Goy drew a steady breath and stepped forward. "My name is Inoy," she said. "I come from Muka. Our king lies close to death." The spirit said, "Only the child who grew in this forest can heal him. They say you are that child." The young man's eyes darkened. His voice came sharp and hard. "Leave now. Go back before I make you vanish forever." Goy froze. "Please listen. Go," he shouted. "Those people are wicked. They passed the useless law that made my father throw me here to die. They judged me before I could even speak. Now they send you. Tell them I owe them nothing." His chest rose and fell as his anger flared. "Leave before you regret it." Ngoy's heart pounded. She wanted to speak, but fear locked her tongue. From the shadows, a softer voice broke the silence. Che, an old woman, stepped into the moonlight. Her gray hair caught the silver glow. Her eyes were calm and wise. "My son," she said gently, "do not let anger rule your heart. Forgive and save the land. Remember what I told you when you were small. You were meant for this. The gods are with you." Chitty turned toward her, his jaw tight. "They left me to die." Mama, if nodded slowly. "Yes, but the gods kept you alive for a reason. They have great plans for you. This sickness in the king is not only for him. It is a test for all of your people. You are the answer." Chitty's eyes flickered with pain and doubt. The old woman stepped closer and laid a gentle hand on his arm. "Please, my son," she whispered, "go and heal the king in your land. Show them that love is stronger than fear. Show them that the child they called evil carries blessing." Chitty took a long breath. At last he looked at Inoy. "I will go," he said quietly. "Not for those who hated me, but because the gods who saved me ask it." Mama Ephioma smiled. "Go, my son. I will join you in 7 days' time." Together, the maiden and the forest child began the long walk back toward Amuaka, carrying with them the hope of a king's healing and a village's redemption. Night had fallen by the time Ngoy and Chitty reached the edge of Amuaka. Their arrival spread faster than the Hamilton wind. People poured from their homes, men with walking sticks, women clutching their wrappers, children who had been warned to stay inside, but could not resist the excitement. A low murmur rolled through the crowd like the hum of distant drums. The forest child has returned. At the palace gate, the guards who once feared every shadow now stepped back in awe. They had heard the stories of a boy left to die and of a young man who lived. None had truly believed it until they saw the silver moon mark glowing on Ched's chest. They opened the gate without a word. Inside the courtyard, the queen stood rigid, her face pale beneath the torchlight. The king lay on a low bed, his breath weak and uneven. The chief priest, Anasir, raised his chalk staff high and cried, "The one chosen by the gods has come." Chedi moved forward, calm but solemn. He looked down at the king, whose eyes fluttered open at the sound of his steps. The old man's gaze fixed on the glowing mark and widened in wonder. Without speaking, Chedi knelt and placed his palm gently on the king's chest. The moon mark on his own chest began to shine like molten silver. A soft light spread from his hand, first across the king's body, then through the entire room. The air grew warm and still. The smell of herbs and smoke faded. Then the king drew a deep, full breath. Color returned to his cheeks. His eyes, which had been dull with sickness, now shone clear and bright. Slowly he sat up. The crowd gasped. The queen covered her mouth with trembling fingers. "My people," the king said, his voice strong once more. "The gods have shown mercy." He turned to Chedi. "Who are you, child of the forest, that the spirits walk with you?" Chedi rose to his feet. "I am the son of Ina," he said simply. A rustle of shock swept through the courtyard. "Many years ago, my father, blinded by fear, cast me into the Aophia forest. But the gods kept me alive. They have healed you today, not because our people deserve it, but to teach us that love is stronger than fear." The chief priest struck the ground with his staff. "Hear the wisdom of the spirits. The child once called evil has become the blessing of the land." Tears welled in the king's eyes. He took Chid's hand. "Forgive our people for the wrong done to you. From this day, you are my son in the sight of the kingdom. Your name will be remembered for generations." The queen humbled and shaken Chedi. She said softly, "Forgive me too. I spoke against the will of the gods." Ched's face was calm. "I forgive you all," he said. "Let the fear that once ruled this land be gone forever." A cheer rose from the people, loud and long, echoing against the night sky. Drums began to beat, first slow and steady, then faster with joy. Dibia Anasir lifted his voice above the celebration. "Let it be known through all Amuaka. The gods have turned our curse into blessing. The forest child has healed our king and our hearts." Under the silver moon, Chidi stood with Enoi beside him. The villagers who had once feared the forest now saw hope where terror had lived. 2 days after the healing, the king sent his guards to fetch Chidi. He came without delay, standing before the throne while the queen and the princess waited. The king wasted no time. "Chidi," he said, "my daughter has spoken to me. From the first moment she saw you, she said her heart chose you. She wishes to be your wife." Chidi bowed slightly, but kept his eyes steady. "My king, I am honored that the princess thinks kindly of me, but I cannot marry her." The king's brows tightened. "You refuse," he said. "You reject the hand of a princess who offers you love." "My king," Chidi answered, "I do not speak to wound anyone, but my heart already belongs elsewhere. I cannot give what is not mine." The king's voice hardened. "After all the rewards that will be given to you, you dare to say no?" "I came because the gods sent me," Chidi said. "I healed you because they willed it. I did not come seeking a bride or a throne." The king frowned. "Then hear me well. The reward I promised you, the place beside me as second in command, will no longer be yours. If you refuse my daughter, you will receive nothing from me or from my people." Ched's jaw tightened. "And this is exactly why I hesitated to return," he said. "Gratitude here seems as thin as dry grass. You speak of gifts as if they were chains." The king's face darkened. "Mind your tongue, boy." "I will mind it," Chie shot back. "But I will not bow to pride. If you make me angry, you may find yourself back in the same weakness in which I met you. Do not test the patience of the gods." The king leaned forward, anger flashing. "You dare threaten me?" Chie's eyes burned like hot coals. "Call it a warning if you wish. I will not be treated like a prize goat. Keep your titles. Keep your treasures. I did not come for your favor." The king's voice cracked like a whip. "Leave my sight. From this day, you will have nothing from me. No reward, no honor. You are dismissed." Chie's eyes flashed. "So be it. This is why I never wish to come. You dress your pride as gratitude. You speak of honor, but you trade it like palm wine. I need nothing from a man who cannot tell blessing from his own shadow." The queen gasped again. The king lifted his staff as if to strike the ground, but Chid's voice cut through the courtyard. Strike if you must. But remember this, your life is a gift you did not buy. The gods gave it back, and they can take it again. Show them respect before your pride destroys you. The king froze. The king slowly lowered his staff, but his eyes still burned. You speak as if the gods belong to you. You are a child of the forest. Do not forget that. Without us, you are nothing. Chitty shook his head. You still do not understand. Without the mercy of the gods, you would be a name already forgotten. I came here to heal, not to beg. If you think your throne makes you master of the gods, you deceive yourself. The queen stepped between them, her hands raised. Enough, both of you, she said. This quarrel brings no honor. Chitty, the king is your elder. My husband, this young man, saved your life. Do not let anger bury the blessing we received. But the king would not be soothed. He insults the throne, he said. He throws back the hand of my daughter and speaks as if he is lord of the heavens. Such arrogance cannot stand. Chitty's voice was steady but sharp. If it is arrogance to refuse a gift I did not ask for, then call me arrogant. I will not marry where my heart does not rest. I will not bow for a seat at your table. The gods give what men cannot take, and no king can buy my soul with promises. The princess, who had stood silent until now, stepped forward with tears shining in her eyes. Father, she said softly, do not be angry. He speaks truth. If his heart belongs elsewhere, would you force him to me? Love cannot grow in chains. The king looked at her in surprise. My child, you would defend him after he shames you. He has not shamed me, she answered. He has honored me with honesty. Better a man who speaks truth than one who bows and lies. Her words cut through the courtyard like a sudden breeze. Chady turned toward the princess and gave a small nod. You are wise beyond your years. May the gods give you a husband whose heart is free and true. The king's lips tightened, but he said nothing. Chitty faced him one last time. King of Amuaka, he said, I will leave your palace with empty hands and a free heart. I ask for no reward. I owe you nothing, and you owe me nothing. But remember this, gratitude is the strength of a ruler. Without it, a crown is only a circle of dried leaves. After Chitty left the palace, the king sat alone. So he muttered to himself, the boy thinks he can shame me before my own people. He dares to speak as if he rules the gods. I will deal with him. I will make sure he joins his foolish parents in the land of the dead. He will learn that no one rejects the king and walks away unpunished. Before the next moon rises, he said under his breath, that forest child will be gone forever. A soft scrape of sandals broke the silence. From a far end of the courtyard came the steady tap of a chalk staff. Dia Onoyer, the chief priest, stepped into the light. My king, he said quietly. I heard the words that left your lips. You must not raise your hand against Chitty. The king turned sharply. Why should I not? He disobeyed me before the elders. He rejected the princess. He mocked the throne. I am the king. If I let him walk free, the people will think I am weak. The chief priest planted his staff firmly on the ground. This is not about the strength of men. Chitty is a child of the gods. The spirits who spared his life and gave him power to heal, you have claimed him as their own. Nothing you plan can harm him. The king's eyes narrowed. No boy who dares to insult me will live to boast of it. Listen to the message of the gods. Dibia Inosi said, Iron, be warned, my king. If you plot evil against that child, the curse you wish for him will return to your own house. The spirits have spoken. Turn your heart from anger, or you will regret it. But the king's pride burned hotter. You dare to frighten me with your visions. I am the ruler of Amuaka. That boy will be gone forever. I swear it by the throne of my fathers. The priest lifted his staff. I have delivered the message. He said, the choice is now yours. But remember this night. If you ignore the warning of the gods, the punishment will be heavier than you can bear. The king turned his face away. Leave me, he said coldly. Your words are empty wind. I will do as I please. Dianosi stared at him for a long moment, sorrow in his eyes. I have spoken, he said. May the gods have mercy on this land. He turned and walked into the darkness. The king sat alone again, his mind fixed on revenge, blind to the warning that had just been given. That night, the queen went quietly to the king's chamber. The princess followed, her face tight with hurt and anger. "My husband," the queen said in a low voice, "we have spoken. We now stand with you. That boy dared to insult the throne. He must be taught a lesson." The princess clenched her fists. "Father, I have just learned the truth. Chitty speaks of Ngoy as the one he loves. How can he choose a daughter of a nobody over me, the princess of this land?" The king's eyes hardened. "You see what I told you? The boy mocks us all. He calls the gods to his side and then throws our honor into the dust. He must be stopped." The queen nodded slowly. "Then we stand together, but we must act with care." Before the moon reached its highest point, they left the palace by a narrow path, carrying charms and powders that the king's secret advisors had prepared. They came to the old sacred ground at the edge of the bush, the place where offerings to the ancestors were laid. The air there was heavy and still. The king raised the gourd of powder. "By this charm," he said, "the forest child shall be silenced. He will trouble us no more." But before the powder could touch the earth, a sudden wind tore through the clearing. The trees groaned as if a giant hand had shaken them. Lightning flashed across the sky, though no clouds had been seen all night. A great voice, deep and rolling like thunder, filled the sacred ground. "Touch not the one whom the gods have chosen." The king staggered back. The queen clutched her daughter. The wind howled. The earth trembled, and the charms they carried burst into dust and vanished like smoke. When the light faded, the three of them lay trembling, too shocked to speak. A silence heavier than fear settled over the clearing. They were all unalived by gods. At dawn, the people of Amuaka awoke to a strange sight. The king, the queen, and the princess were found at the edge of the sacred ground, unalive. News spread through the village like fire. The elders gathered. The chief priest came, and all agreed. The gods had judged the royal family for plotting harm against the one who had healed the land. On the seventh day, the talking drums called the people to the square. The chief priest lifted his staff. "The gods have shown their will," he proclaimed. "The child once feared. The man who healed our king shall lead us." The crowd turned as Chitty entered the square with Ngoy at his side. The elders placed a carved crown upon his head. From this day, the priest declared, "Chitty, child of the gods, is king of Amuka. Beside him stands Angie, his chosen wife. May their reign be long and their hearts remain pure." Drums thundered, voices rose in song, and the people danced in joy. Chitty took No's hand and looked over the gathering. The fear that had once driven his people was gone. The forest that once held him captive was now a place of blessing. Under the bright sun of a new day, the boy who had been cast away stood as king, and the girl who had braved the forest stood as queen. Their story became a lesson told for generations, that no curse can stand against the purpose of the gods, and that love and truth will always outshine fear and pride. Dear viewers, what lesson did you learn from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know whenever we upload new videos. Thank you for watching and stay blessed.